Hello everyone, welcome back to You Enjoy Life. My name is Joshua, and if you're just joining us, it's great to have you. You can click on the subscribe button, you can do a little dance, and you can feel good. So You Enjoy Life is all about helping you just tap into your highest joy. For me, that's using things like food and music and just showing you how to live a better life. I love gardening, I love dancing, I love singing, I love cooking, and these are some of my favorite things that bring me joy. So whatever it is for you, I just want you to know that this is the place where you're gonna walk away feeling inspired and excited to just live the best life you can possible. So if you were just watching Brothers Green, I was kind of bringing people over because this is my first official cooking series on this channel. And recently I was in Peru and I was living in the jungle for about a week for part of my experience. And also when I was out of the jungle, I was just cooking, in hostels and stuff, and it was very basic food that I was making. And it got me really thinking, for as much as there's so many exotic ingredients out there and all these different ways to prepare them, and you go to the market and you have endless things to choose from, for me to really get creative, sometimes I have to pull back and strip back. So I came up with this challenge for myself just to kind of think about what would it be like if I could only live off 10 ingredients for the rest of my life. And I know that sounds kind of wild, but it really made me think about what are the most essential ingredients. And I'm not just talking about the food pyramid, but I mean on all levels of textures, flavors, there's the health thing, of course, but in general, what are the ingredients that I cannot live without, and what ingredients are so versatile that I could literally spend my entire life just eating those? And I know that sounds crazy, and for me the challenge isn't actually doing this. It's more about kind of putting myself in that space while I'm cooking for you guys to show you how to push ingredients to another level. So I talked a little bit about this on the channel, but one thing I love about food is realizing something like a coconut, for example. Now, the coconut has so many different things to it that while it's on the tree, it's changing. So, you may have had young coconut before, right? And it's more like the green, bigger coconuts. And when they cut into it, there's so much amazing, beautiful water in there. You drink the water, and there's a little bit of that coconut flesh, and it's kind of squishy and sweet and delicious. But as the coconut continues to ripen, it's changing. It's like cooking itself. The life process is cooking itself. It's bringing out new flavors, and it's bringing out new textures. So as it continues to ripen, it becomes an older coconut, and it gets harder. There's still a little bit of water in there, but then you also get this, much deeper, thicker flesh. And that coconut flesh is amazing because you can blend that up and you can make coconut milk. You can shred it up and you can make shredded coconut. You can dry it out and you can make coconut butter. So what's cool is when you strip back the ingredients, it really forces you to be creative and push ingredients as far as they can go. So this whole series, every time I do a cooking video on this series, I'm going to be exploring different ingredients and also different pairings to show you really creative but simple things that you can make. Because I truly believe that food should be something that's accessible. So I'm trying to use ingredients that are accessible around the world, but I also want to know, and leave comments below, what are the ingredients that you cannot live without? Really think about it. Not just something that you love, but what are those things that if you only had 10 ingredients for the rest of your life that you feel like you would literally be satisfied? I think a banana is a great example because bananas are sweet, but you have different levels. So, in America, we tend to just look at things as ripe. It's oh, tomato ripe. But, tomatoes are green, and when they're green, they're delicious for a different reason. They're, they're more acidic and they're firm, and they have different purposes. People make fried green tomatoes and fresh salads and stuff. Bananas are the same way. When bananas are green, it's kind of like with a plantain. If they're green, you can cut them open and they're going to be really starchy. And there's things that you can do with a starchy banana that I'm going to be exploring. But of course, as they get more ripe, you can eat them fresh. You can put them in the freezer, freeze them, make smoothies out of them. You can let them get even more ripe and you can make banana breads and stuff. So bananas are super versatile. Rice is another great example, and there's a bajillion different types of rice. But taking a rice, as something that's really starchy, you can of course just cook rice, and probably 95% of people that buy a bag of rice, they just cook the rice. But you can also make fresh rice noodles. You can blend up the rice and you can make a rice batter to make, rice pancakes. You can cook the rice and then cook it really far down and make like congee. So there's so many different things that you can do with rice and with all these ingredients. And what really excites me about this series is getting to have this kind of creative feedback where we're talking together. So I'm not actually, like I said, taking this challenge on myself where I'm going to be literally living off of this for a year or the rest of my life. It's more just about creating this container that when I'm cooking for y'all during this series, you're going to see me explore some basic ingredients and really push them. Tomato is another great example. And of course, there are so many types of different tomatoes. So I want to talk about ingredients specifically. I'm going to do a series, within this series, I'm going to talk to you about different types of tomatoes and how you can kind of like understand tomatoes. Because what's interesting to me about tomatoes is they're used all over the place, and you can go to the market in the winter and you can get a tomato, but it's going to be it's literally, to me, a different thing than when you get tomato that's in season. You go to the farmer's market, you grow it yourself. Like there's almost no resemblance. I mean, maybe they look the same, but the taste is something completely different. And I didn't like tomatoes until I tried a fresh picked tomato that was homegrown, because it was a whole different thing. And even if you can't do that, that's okay, because there's ways that you can elevate a tomato even in the winter. For example, you can roast them, and you get a lot of umami when you roast them. You can, kind of cut them up, break them up, and you can can tomatoes. You can make tomato sauce. But there's also things that I probably don't even realize can be made with just a tomato, which brings me to something like an apple. And I, of course, have a few extra ingredients here, but the goal is for me to explore some of the most basic and versatile ingredients and also get some of your feedback so I can actually experiment with things. Like something I'm really excited about during this series that I want to make is apple cider vinegar. And we have like a gigantic thing of Bragg's apple cider vinegar right here, and it's made from apples, but I've never made it before. And I would love to actually make it myself. And because I'm limiting myself to only so many ingredients, it's going to force me to be more creative and to say, okay, vinegar is something I really want. Of course, I could add limes in here, and limes are great, but to me, limes don't necessarily have as much versatility as something like an apple. So if I can get that sort of acidic vinegar thing going with an apple, well, then that's freaking awesome. Chicken is another great example. Chicken is something that I absolutely love, and I don't eat that much red meat anymore. Fish is great. All meats have their own place, but chicken is something that if I'm not in this state of being really limited, I might just go out and buy some chicken breast and grill it up and, eat some nice chicken. But when I'm really thinking about if chicken's my only protein, well, there's so many things that I can do. I can take the skin, I can render the fat down on the chicken, and I can get I can get the fat of the chicken and I can actually cook with that. I can make stocks. There's so many different things that I can make with chicken that I want to explore and kind of share with you. Cabbage is another great one. You can make sauerkraut with cabbage. You can make certain types of kimchi with different types of cabbage. And there's so many different types of cabbage, so we're going to talk about different types of cabbage. We're going to talk about like different ways that you can use it, from fresh to fermented to using the wraps and all that good stuff. Chickpeas. I freaking love chickpeas. Again, just like rice, chickpeas often people, they get them in a can, they're already cooked and they're mushy, or they go the extra mile, they soak them, they cook their chickpeas, and then they kind of that's it. But there's so much that you can do with chickpeas. We actually, my wife and I, we will blend this up, or we'll just buy the chickpea flour, and the things you can do with chickpea flour is mind-blowing. You can make these flatbreads and pancakes, and there's so much that you can do. So I really want to push that ingredient and show you guys like what is possible. And again, I'm not saying I'm not going to bring in other ingredients, but the whole idea here is to take things that I love and see how far I can push them, like cauliflower, like sweet potatoes, like eggs, and coconut. So if this is something that's exciting to you, I'm also going to be doing other cooking videos and kind of things that I'm inspired as I go. But if this is something that's excited to you and you haven't subscribed yet, I would love you to subscribe and know there's going to be more. This first video, I just kind of wanted to talk about the concept because I want to get your feedback. Are there things that I'm missing? Is there an ingredient that you think is so versatile that I have not thought about? Please let me know, because I would love to explore it. Again, I'm going to be doing so much more content on here. It's so wild to me to have my own channel now and kind of get to do exactly what I want. Not that I didn't get to do that in Brothers Green to some extent, but there was also, I felt limited in some ways. So to me, this is like a collaborative effort and element. So there's things that you want to see, or there's certain things that you've done with a tomato that I wouldn't think of, show me so I can include it in the video. Thank you again. Subscribe if you'd like. Joshua is here, and peace out.